Hello, and welcome to Leading the Transformation, Implementing Agile and TBM Together. My name's Chris Ruch. I'm the CEO of Agile Rising, and I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts today on how to lead a successful transformation, and in particular, how to lead multiple transformations that are going on in different parts of the organization at the same time. Before we get down into those details, a little bit more about me and about Agile Rising. So Agile Rising is a strategic consulting firm, and we help organizations adopt Agile and other transformational frameworks, including driving digital transformations, implementing TBM, implementing the flow framework, and in general, producing a better organization that's better equipped to handle change, to adjust to opportunities and challenges in the market, improve the product development process, and become a more effective and agile organization. I and Agile Rising have worked with a number of the world's largest and most complex organizations, and I've been helping companies successfully implement Agile at the enterprise scale for about the last 10 years. The experience that I have and that Agile Rising has really spans everything from large financial services companies to self-driving cars, to the work that we're doing today at Emerson Electric and at NASA. One of the things that really distinguishes Agile Rising is that we are a SAFe Gold SPCT partner, and we're also a TBM partner. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here today, is about how you can implement Agile and TBM at the same time. Now more than ever, organizations are going through multiple transformations simultaneously, often under the umbrella of a digital transformation. But in particular, we're seeing parts of the organization adopt TBM, and we see parts of the organization adopting Agile or Agile frameworks like Scaled Agile Framework or LESS or Nexus or others. And we don't always see that these initiatives are being coordinated as a single overall digital transformation effort. So what we're going to really talk about today is the importance of not looking at these large enterprise scale transformation initiatives as separate things, but really as something that as leaders, you need to ensure are being really brought together as a consolidated strategy, that there's a single roadmap that guides these major transformation initiatives. Otherwise, there's some significant challenges beyond the normal transformation challenges, but really conflicts between the transformational efforts or confusion in the organization as out of sync transformational efforts are happening. We're also going to talk about how getting the right training, coaching, and tooling are important to empower your organization to really be successful and to achieve not just the outcomes of the transformational efforts that you're driving, but to really achieve everything that the organization is capable of achieving and really achieving its potential, right? So let's talk about what it takes to lead a successful transformation. So quote here from Andy Warhol. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I like to pay tribute to some of our fellow Pittsburghers. Quote here: "They always say times change things, but you actually have to change them yourself. Change doesn't just happen, right? Leaders make change happen. Leaders recognize when change is necessary. Leaders recognize when transformational change is appropriate and really what needs to drive the organization forward into the future. And today there's no shortage of change, right? There's often all sorts of transformational changes that are happening within the organization, right? that there are digital transformations, there's TBM transformations. Everybody wants to become more agile, right? And so often in your organization, you may have a number of transformational efforts happening all at once, right? What we're looking at here are 4 of the most popular transformations that are happening today, with digital transformation often as the umbrella of overall modernization and optimization, driving more applications and platforms to the cloud, TBM, Agile, and you may have a host of other specific transformations or applications or improvements that you're making in the organization. And sometimes these transformations are happening in different parts of the organization. Sometimes they're overlapping in the same parts of the organization. What we're going to really talk about here today is what happens when you're undertaking more than one of these kinds of transformations at the same time. I once worked with one organization that had 13 different major transformational, named transformational efforts going on at the same time. You can't have that happening in isolation, and you can't have that happening without knowing how they interrelate to each other and how they play together. Okay? So change is a constant, and part of driving change is knowing where we're going, right? We need to have a roadmap. We need to know what the destination is, that when we're trying to drive transformational change, we can't let the road take us where it's going to go. We need to define the road that we need, and we need to define what those outcomes are, how we're going to get there, what the vision is, and then align everyone around the vision, right? And this is the basic for any organizational change management framework and approach. And all of you probably have roadmaps around the strategic initiatives that you have underway in your organization. But often the challenge that we have is that for every one of those transformational initiatives, it has its own transformational roadmap, right? So you might have your digital transformation roadmap and your SAFe or Agile implementation roadmap and your TBM roadmap and your cloud infrastructure roadmap, right? And having separate roadmaps and separate strategies and separate implementation plans for all of those different transformations is necessary, but it can also be confusing, right? What happens if we have leaders of each one of those efforts that have made their transformational plans and their roadmaps, and they're not collaborating with each other? And we take a look at those roadmaps, and we start going down those roadmaps and find out that they don't go to the same place, right? That we have our TBM transformation going in one direction, and we have our Agile transformation going in a different direction. Or maybe they're not on the same roadmap at all, and we're asking people to change in different ways at the same time, right? Or what happens if they're not in sync? And we've just asked an organization to go through a TBM transformation, and just as it's wrapping up, we ask them to go through an Agile transformation, right? And now we have to worry about, are we changing things that we just changed? Are the people in the organization going to suffer from change fatigue, or just not be able to process the level of change that's happening, or get confused because they're asking to be to change things that they just implemented? Or even worse, what if the changes don't even line up? And we're telling people to change in 2 different directions at the same time, or do things that are directly opposite to each other, right? what happens if your TBM leader is going out and communicating to the organization. We need to have detailed time tracking, and that's going to drive the data that we collect for our financial reporting, while at the same time your agile transformation leader is saying, we're going to get rid of time tracking entirely, and we're going to go to different, more lean and agile ways of tracking our costs and our outcome. Well, those are directly opposed to each other. We can't do both of those things. And so it's really important that we have the leaders of our different transformational efforts aligned with each other and speaking the same language. Because I'll tell you what, if your TBM leader and your agile transformation leader aren't speaking the same language, then there's no way that your technology teams are going to be speaking the same language as your business teams. There's simply no hope, right? So we need to get our leaders on the same page so that they can drive the consistency through the organization, right? I'll make a little detour here and say that if somebody's saying we really need time tracking and somebody else is saying we need to get rid of time tracking, listen to the person trying to lean out the organization and use other newer modern ways and move away from that time tracking, right? So as a leader, your goal in the transformational effort is to communicate why we're transforming and paint the picture, paint the vision of where we're going. And if there's multiple frameworks, if there's multiple transformations that need to happen at the same time, you need to weave those together into a story that people can get behind, that they're not confused about, that they're not worried about changing multiple times, but they see all of these transformational, all of these modernization efforts as being part of a consolidated strategy that's going to take them forward into the future, right? So as leaders, we need to create that vision. We need to create that strategy, and we need to create a roadmap that is going to be the North Star. It's going to be the vision that takes us to where we're going to go. And what we're not creating are multiple different power centers or transformation centers within the organization that are pulling us in different directions, right? We're going to have different threads, and we're going to have different areas of focus, and we're going to have different aspects of our transformation, but they're all part of that one roadmap, that roadmap to rule all the other roadmaps that make sure that we're all going in the same direction, that we're all approaching things with a common change management framework that gets us there. So what we're really going to talk about here is the organizational change management approach that's going to work to define the future of the organization and rally all of our transformational efforts together in a way that actually works. So we're not going to do a deep dive into organizational change management. We're not going to do a deep dive into TBM or SAFe either. But we're going to talk about some common elements. And we want to make sure that our organizational change management is driven by one of the recognized frameworks, whether that's John Cotter's Leading Change, whether it's ADKAR or ATD, or whether it's a blend of those different approaches. There's some common elements that are used, and that's what we're going to talk about here to give you the high-level view of really how to drive an Agile and TBM transformation at the same time. Now, we're going to focus a little bit on SAFe because in my experience, the organizations that are really leading the way on doing synchronized transformational efforts with TBM and Agile, most of them are doing it with TBM and SAFe. But everything that we talk about here is really going to be applicable to any of the Agile frameworks that are being used. And quite honestly, in most organizations, when we're talking about large scale transformation, there is no single framework, right? SAFe is being used in some parts of the organization. Scrum or Nexus or Scrum at Scale or Disciplined Agile are all often being used. And as a transformational leader, particularly as a TBM leader or a finance leader, you really need to develop an approach that works for all of those different frameworks, as well as more traditional PMI and waterfall type approaches, because they're all going to roll up to the same financial and the same budgeting and same reporting perspectives. But with that being said, we're going to use some examples here that are specific to SAFe, because it is what I'm seeing and what Agile Rising is seeing most commonly in the industry. So TBM and SAFe really are complementary frameworks that go together very well and support each other. So as most of us probably know, TBM is a framework that provides data-driven decision-making to manage, plan, and optimize cost, value, and quality across all technology investments. And that includes our run the business and change the business investments. Right? Agile and scaled Agile framework have applicability across the entire organization. Right? It's really a mindset, and it's really a way of thinking that we can use across the organization. But its sweet spot is really in driving innovation and driving that enterprise agility, which is one of the 4 pillars of TBM. So SAFe is an operating system that helps organizations scale Agile across the enterprise to drive faster time to market, increase our productivity and quality, and to drive employee and customer engagement. Right? So when you're undertaking TBM or SAFe, or really undertaking any 2 frameworks or 2 transformational efforts at the same time, it's important that we think about the foundational aspects of leading a transformation, right? And these are the keys that I'm going to talk about today for leading a successful transformation. And some of these are from John Kotter's model. Some of them are influenced by ADKAR and ATD, and they're really taken from the change management framework that we use at Agile Rising to drive transformations for our customers. Okay? So we start with building a powerful guiding coalition of leaders who then identify the value streams, products, and services that we're going to organize around and optimize the company or enterprise to deliver value on. Right? We're then going to build excitement and buy-in broadly across the organization to get involved in the change, and we're going to empower the organization to act in the right way to contribute to the change. As we go along, we're going to gather the right and actionable data and metrics so that we know that we're going in the right direction, so that we can quantify whether the transformational efforts that we're doing are working, and if they're not, to pivot and go into the right direction. Right? In order to do that, we need to have the right tools, and we need to automate those tools in order to really capture what's going on in our organization. Finally, we're going to anchor those changes in the culture and in the organization so that the transformation is no longer new. It's the way we work, and it's the way we work going forward. But it doesn't become a static framework. It becomes the way that we drive continuous improvement in the organization. So we're going to talk about each one of these points quickly and go into a little bit more detail, right? In the time that we have, we can't go down into all of the specifics, but we're going to give you some things to consider and some things to take away, okay? So Cotter really focuses on the importance of the guiding coalition and having a sufficiently powerful guiding coalition of executives that can actually make change in the organization, right? We know as transformational leaders that if somebody is saying, oh, we can't do that here, that'll never work here, or well, we have policies that say that can't work, then we don't have the sufficiently powerful coalition that we need, right? We need people who can change organizational structures, who can change policies, who can change tools, and make real change across the organization, right? We don't want just technology leaders. We need people from the business, from finance, from HR, from executive leadership, who provide the diversity across the business and can drive change and collaboration and cooperation. We also need these leaders to form a team, right? We don't need leaders that are there advocating for their own position or their own group, but really are there to drive the vision and the goals for the overall enterprise and the transformation. Next, when we're implementing TBM and SAFe or Agile, we need to define very clearly what our value streams, products, and services are, right? This is what we really need to organize around in a modern value stream driven organization. It's where's the value and how's that value delivered? So TBM defines and is really organized around products and services, which are what IT delivers to our end customers, where SAFe is built around value streams, which are defined as all of the steps, people, and systems that deliver those products and services, right? And then further, we create portfolios, which are really micro businesses within the enterprise, which support one or more of those value streams or one or more of those products or services. Right? So graphically, this is what it looks like in SAFe and in TBM, right? So in the TBM taxonomy, we have those products and services which align to value streams and portfolios in SAFe. So SAFe really gives us a way to organize the people that are doing the work, whereas TBM gives us the processes to analyze and gather the data about how they're performing and the financial management aspects. Right? Next, we need to build the excitement, communicate with people around why we're doing what we're doing, celebrate the short-term wins as we drive the transformation, train people, give them the tools and the coaching and the organizational change management to be successful, right? One of the things that we really stress at Agile Rising is what we call invitation-based transformations, which are really getting people excited about TBM, excited about Agile, so that we're not telling them, hey, you are going to transform. Rather, they're coming to the leaders and saying, hey, when's our chance? When do we get to be part of the transformation? And that's how you really know if what you're doing is working, if people are coming to you and getting excited and trying to be part of this. As we're going along and we're implementing the change and we're rolling this out, what we're looking for here are outcomes, right? We're looking at gathering actionable data and metrics. TBM is really data driven about getting the financial data about what we should be working on, while Agile and SAFe define really clear outcome-based metrics. But that data and those metrics, we need to gather, we need to have the plan for how we're going to get it out of our systems and make it really actionable. And we want to make sure that those are really our outcome-based metrics and not vanity metrics that just show that people are busy, right? We know our people are busy. What we want to know is what are they accomplishing? Are we delivering value? Are we doing it faster? And gathering metrics and gathering data doesn't do us any good if we don't actually do something with it. So we need to make that actionable. We need to improve our implementation and our transformation based on what we learn. In order to do that, we need to have the right tools, and we need to gather that data in a way that we can automate it, a way that we can process it. And simply put, you can't use last decade's tools to drive your digital transformation today, right? Spreadsheets don't cut it. The homegrown or out-of-date tools that you may have probably aren't going to cut it. What you need are the best of breed tools at the portfolio level, at the TBM level, and whatever each of your different applications and organizations needs, empower them to use those best of breed tools to drive their part of the business, and then use a best of breed tool like TaskTop and TaskTop Flow to gather the metrics and gather the data for reporting purposes, for actionable purposes. Okay. And then ultimately what we need to do is set up our transformation to last, right? What we often see are leaders declaring victory too soon and saying, hey, we trained everybody, we rolled out a new tool, and transformation done, check the box, move on. The transformation's not done until it's anchored in the culture and it's the new way of working. And that means we need to support our organization until we actually see the outcomes that we need to see and driving that change. Further, we need to provide the support with the TBM office, with the Agile Center of Excellence or the Lean Agile Center of Excellence, and provide that ongoing support to make sure that we are really continuing to grow and improve in the long term, right? Because there is no final destination in business, right? What you did today may be the best you've ever done, but we want to do better tomorrow, and we want to do better the year after that, right? So our products, our services, our value streams are always going to be changing. Our portfolios and budgets are going to need to change as well. They need to adjust. They need to respond. That's what enterprise agility is all about. So we need to be doing regular reviews and saying, have market conditions changed? Have our priorities changed? Are groups or products that used to be doing really well now not doing so well, and do they need help? So we need to do our reviews at the portfolio level every quarter or every program increment if you're using SAFe, to monitor performance, do our health checks, and take corrective action. So I wish I could go into more detail about all of these topics, but this brings us to the end of our time. So what I want to leave you with is really think about driving your TBM and Agile transformations as very complementary, as frameworks that really work together and really need to be implemented together in a way that is strategically aligned and that leadership is driving, not just with the right strategy and with the right roadmap, but by empowering your teams with the right training, the right coaching, and the right tooling in order to make the organization be successful, right? So how do you do it? I'm going to challenge you to undertake some steps to get going, right? Start your transformation now. As change leaders, the biggest impediment to change is not doing anything. So when you go back to your organization after the TBM conference, get together your guiding coalition, talk to other leaders, define that shared vision, and put together a roadmap that can demonstrate change every 90 days, demonstrate improvement, and get that cadence going. Use Agile to implement Agile. Use SAFe to implement not just SAFe, but to use it to implement TBM. And a good next step could be getting your leaders trained, and starting a value stream identification workshop to really identify those products, services, and value streams so that you can align around them. Obviously, if you don't have TBM Executive Foundation certification yet, that's a great place to start, as is the Lean Portfolio Management Workshop or the Leading SAFe training. So I'd love to continue the conversation with each one of you. Please reach out to me by any of these means, through my website, through email, or through my LinkedIn account, or stop by the Agile Rising booth and chat with me there and continue the conversation. I hope you've enjoyed this talk as much as I've enjoyed giving it, and enjoy the rest of the TBM conference.